You're listening to a main feed episode. Go to patreon.com/Celtic Ligers where €5 a month gets you weekly full-length episodes, stray bonus content and access to the back catalogue. Also helps cover hosting and gives us money for sweeties. Thank you. Celtic Ligers.
Recorded 7th of May 2025.
I love a good racist caricature of an Irishman. I fucking adore it.
Yeah. Sometimes I wish that English people were still that level of racist against Irish. You know
Well, they
what
sort
I
of are, but they don't like do drawings about it
Well,
anymore. They're not motivated in that regard.
No, like English people now think that we're the same species as them. They just think that we're like a bad example of it. You know what I mean? I suppose back in the day where it's like we're less evolved.
Yeah.
Like we have different bones to them and stuff. You know?
You know the ones that they do now where it's like, this is like an Irishman and there's a big ginger beard and they're wearing like a green jersey and they have like a shamrock hat on it. I was like, I don't like that. I like the ones where it's like they're wearing rags and like a bowler hat.
Yeah.
And their like faces are mean and gaunt and they're just like looking for a scrap, you know?
My favourite ones are the ones where they have them. They're wearing the rags, but the rags are like of wealthy clothes.
yeah. Oh, you got
it
notions.
really is like,
yeah.
Yeah, it's like. You ever seen that video of the orangutan wearing the North Face fleece?
That was great. I love that clip you showed me.
And the English lads are like, he's putting it on. He's wearing it. And like, you can picture them doing that about an Irish guy.
Yeah.
They see him wearing like a tri-corner hat or something. And they're like, he's put it on. He's put on your hat. Where'd he get that?
Yeah. I guess the other thing that's funny about it as well, like the kind of gaunt features and the kind of aggro nature of it is like, you know, so like what they're basically showing is like, here's somebody who's poor and starving and it's a character defect as opposed to something that's been done to him. And that's what they're depicting, you know, which is...
Why are you so angry?
Yeah.
It's like he hasn't eaten in a week.
Well, like...
That's why.
So like... let's say you're doing, you know, the Stephen Moffat Sherlock Holmes thing where Andrew Scott plays Moriarty and he's like 10 steps ahead of Sherlock Holmes and he's kind of put together, but he's insane, you know? And then you have the version of Moriarty played by Jared Harris from like the fucking Robert Downey Jr. movies. He's a similar thing, like a mathematician. In the original short story... He is this kind of like, I think the way they depict it is that there's like a web of crime and that Moriarty is the spider at the center of it, okay? And so Holmes has been going undercover to try and infiltrate this organization. And he manages to track Moriarty up to the top of this cliff. And he knows that he's not going to come back, so he leaves a letter for Watson. And what ends up happening is Moriarty gets so frustrated that Holmes has stumbled into him. He gets so angry. He lets his anger take control of him and ends up like, you know, just pummeling him on the side of this cliff. And I think that they fall off the waterfall together. Okay.
His animal rage takes over.
That's what I mean. He's so like, he's like, you've gotten too close to my scheme. And like somehow this guy who is so cunning, he's got this web of crime. He's also like such a hothead. That's his weakness that allows Holmes, the noble Englishman, to be able to take advantage of him.
The cool-headed, the cool-blooded Brit wins again. It must have been mad, like, being English and reading about the Irish Parliament back in the day.
Yeah.
You would just be like, they have a parliament.
Would you? I was just thinking, actually, sorry, even Moriarty would be like like Othello. You know, where it's like, imagine a cool, calm-headed, intellectual Moor, you know? And then it's like, you know, it'd be like some sort of like massive subversion of your like, would you know that obviously he's a criminal because he's Irish, okay? But can you imagine an Irishman being so devious and cunning, and they're like,
Yeah.
what is this creature? Somebody who's...
Yeah. They're like scared. It's like, what if there's more of them?
Wait. What about he's more like, he's a professor? Like, that would be just like the most insane thing ever.
Yeah. Like if a dog was a professor.
What if
No,
a
it must be
spider was a professor?
It must be a ventriloquist.
Yeah.
I think it's like that horse that could do math. You know, that where there's a guy poking him in the back to like. That horse ruled. Could do maths.
Yeah.
You ever see that dog that can? There's this thing, and it's like you give your dog these buttons, and they can say words. The dog pushes them with his paw. So if the dog's hungry, it can go like food, you know. And then I saw this other one. The button said "Hell no," you know. But I saw another one, and like the whole floor was covered in buttons. Like there was like 100 buttons, and the one would be like, you know, how are you feeling? And the dog would just be going like, I feel good today, you know?
Yeah.
And it'd be like, what do you want to eat? Hamburger. Like it was really complicated.
Yeah. I don't ever
Was it?
believe any of that stuff.
Do you believe the one about the parrot? They're going to speak English.
No. I just about believe the one where the monkey that speaks sign language, the gorilla that speaks sign language.
Yeah. What about the half chimpanzee, half human they found? That's my
I saw this video. Like, Twitter has become almost unusable. You scroll and it you know, like when you go on Facebook just before it was unusable, where you'd see like, here's how to, like all the shit that they try to tell you to wash stains out of clothes, or like cute animal videos and stuff like that. That's what I'm getting on Twitter now. But there was one where it's like, it did make me laugh, where it was like, it was a tweet that was like, they're the pranksters of the animal kingdom, and it was a crow, or like a crow, and there's a pit bull with these giant balls, and it comes over and just pecks its balls, and then like jumps away going like so, all right, the internet's fucked up, is it?
It's not great, but a crow pecked a dog's balls. Is that the story? What a world. I told you I was at test tube babies last night. I'm not going to go through it again. But Mark is really good at doing that.
Yeah. Well, you can go through it again because nobody here has heard about it. So
I don't want to.
Okay, fine. Well, next time Test Tube Babies is anywhere near you, make sure to get to it.
Okay, I'll go through it very quickly. So, Mark, I didn't tell you about, Mark was the MC, Mark Maloney, who's been on the podcast numerous times. And he was a robot, which was funny. And then there was Ross O'Donoghue, and he was like a guy from Arrakis in Dune.
Yeah.
And he was trying to like, he came down to Dublin with a sort of sales pitch, and he was like, you guys are hungry and we're thirsty, you know, so we can. And then he was like, what year is it? And then it turned out he thought he was in 1847 in Dublin.
Black 47, some call it.
And then there was Thomas Lawrence, who did a bit about he was like an American lobbyist lobbying for Kinder eggs to be legalized. And it was a parody about gun law. I'm not really laughing when I'm telling these because I've already recited them.
He was already laughing
before.
earlier on.
I was already laughing earlier on. I was. Then
Is any of this material being burned by us talking about it?
I think these are sort of once-off things.
Either way, the weird shit happens at these nights that doesn't happen at any other comedy night, and everybody's in good spirits, and it just makes for a great time. And there's no other night. Can you tell me, like, because I'm not really as clued in, but as far as I'm aware, there's no other night that's doing the stuff that Test Tube Babies is doing.
No, I think that's fair to say. Maria Cunningham and Sarah Walsh, they were the highlight, I think.
Cyril Roger, no?
Yeah.
Who's Cyril Walsh?
I don't know.
Okay.
Just some figment of my imagination. The perfect woman.
Yeah.
And there was Shane Clifford. And then the Querney brothers did sketches as well, which are good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's it. Then on to the news. Or on to the...
All right, cool, yeah. So Test Tube Babies, is there any set schedule? You basically follow TTB show on Instagram for any updates. It happens monthly in Collins in Cork. I think it's the second Tuesday of every month. I could be wrong about that. And it's well worth.
But I wasn't even performing and I went. Like, that's how good it is.
That's a real mark of quality, because James will not go and watch any stand-up at all unless he is also performing on that same night.
So
I told you, like, I went to see Josie Long there recently, and it was the first bit of stand-up that wasn't Test Tube Babies that I'd seen in quite a long time. And is sitting in that audience, you know, when the lights go down, you suddenly are like, oh yeah, I forgot I hate stand-up. Like, when somebody comes on and everyone's like, hey, how's it going? Oh, right, whoa, hey, you know, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember this, you know, we start off with, and there's nothing against Josie Long, it's just that feeling of like, I don't like this at all. I don't like the format, I don't like the structure, so that's the thing that appeals to me about Test Tube Babies, is how absolutely anarchic it is. In a good way. It's not lacking. Like, there's a definite focus and there's a lot of effort put into it, but it's that sort of like, I love it when people don't do patter, you know. I love it when they come out and they just start the show and that's it, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Crowd work can be very boring, you know. I'll do some now.
Okay.
Hey, where are you from?
Galway.
Galway. Oh, you hippie. You fucking hippie.
Yeah.
What part?
Oranmore. But like Kinvara. My parents live in Kinvara now.
All right. That's very near Oughterard. Is that how you pronounce it?
Not at all. No.
Well, it's not that far.
It's quite far.
Anyway, were you there at the far right thing? It was great.
I was at the far right thing in Kinvara.
I mean not the far right, the normal centrist. Concerned citizens, you know, like. Anyway, it's going to be a great show. We have a great lineup. We have Damo Clark, the Australian chap.
Is he Australian?
We have. Maybe I'm thinking of someone else.
Who's the guy who runs the on Shaw now?
I have no idea.
I'm gonna call them out because I was like, I might edit this out, but we were trying to get book a place for you to record something, and then he was like, "Oh, I'll have to wait and see."
Yeah.
And I was like, "You don't own On Shaw." Like, I just found that crazy, where it's like I have to negotiate through you to get a room upstairs in a fucking pub. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, it's not even like. It's just a fucking room with exposed light fixtures and stuff like that. You know, with wires hanging out of the wall and mold in the corners. And it's like, yeah, let me see whether I can do it. I don't know whether I can make it available for you. It's like, well, there's got to be a list. So just look at the list and then tell me when there's a night that's free. Because you don't I find that insane, to be honest.
Yeah. We have Al Porter as well, of course.
Mm-hmm.
He's a real treat. We have the guy who's a stunner.
Yeah.
He's on.
I hope you like to think and laugh, because we're doing both.
Yeah. And then as a headliner, we have Aidan McQueen.
Yeah.
Of the podcast, and I can't remember what it's called.
Oh my god. I was like, James, you idiot. Of course it's called Cannot Remember. It's a question. How are we now? What is it? What is the fucking name of the
Tell
podcast?
Me this. Come here to me.
Come here to me. No, is it? What is it? What? Here and I tell you. What is that fucking called? We're not looking it up. Don't look it up. I want to just see if I can remember this. What's the story? Why?
Is it called Come Here to Me? No, that's the Donald Fallon thing, isn't it?
No, it's a different one. This one's called Why?
What's the deal?
No. Oh my god. Can I just ask? That came to me there. Okay, cool.
It's not called Can I Just Ask, is it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
That's a terrible name.
Yeah. I was at a pro-trans demonstration in Belfast.
Yeah.
Big turnout. A lot of people there. There was multiple events scheduled for the same day for some reason. So it started off in the morning as one demonstration, and then it became a trans thing, and then it became a anti-racism one after that. So it just those back-to-back demonstrations, and but the trans one, at this moment in time where all of our trans brothers and sisters are being attacked by every corner of social and political life, it was nice to stand in a crowd of people who were linking a lot of causes together, but also showing solidarity. And it wasn't all the fucking blue hairs, as a certain bag of spice might be accusing them of. There were also some normals there as well.
Like you.
Like me. Yeah, the most normal person there. No, there was... And I did notice as well that there was only one tricolour there, and it was in the counter demonstration behind the stage. So for some reason they'd set up the stage, and then there's hundreds of people in front of it showing support for trans and minority groups and Palestine and etc. And then behind the stage was the counter demonstration, which had maybe just shy of 100 people, and it kept shrinking throughout the day, whereas the other demonstration was getting bigger. And at the front of it, there was Union Jacks, there was flags with crosses on them, then there was the old trickler there, and then some signs saying Free Enoch Burke. And I thought he was free, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah. Well, he's free to leave.
Yeah. And So then I was kind of it was all happening in front of City Hall, so you could go behind the gate and you could just walk between the two protests to hear what was being said on either side. So, you know, I go to the, you know, anti-racism one, and it's all like chants and people righteously angry. And then I went over to the counter demonstration. There's about like 15 or 20 people there, and then this woman goes, "We used to be a community. It used to be that if you were grounded as a child, the entire neighborhood would be grounded too. And last week I saw in the news a person shitting in the street." And even like, I don't know what the correlation was between those two things.
Yeah.
It was just this thing about like, they're eroding our values, but then the values are like, remember when we used to be punished, you know?
Collectively.
Like,
Yeah.
and but I could
Your
see the
teacher
reaction
beat the
from the
hell out of
crowd. Yeah, remember back in those days, there was nothing wrong with it. There was nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with being punished for absolutely no reason just because of something somebody else did.
Yeah, very peculiar
but
one
then-
to pick up on.
I start very strange. Like a lot of it is like these people's nostalgia, in my opinion, is basically trauma. But then they have to kind of code it as in actually it was character building, you know? Like,
Yeah.
actually it was great that these things happened to me, and also they should happen to everybody else. Everybody else should feel like, you know, repressed and put upon, because that's what creates community. But anyhow, I did find it funny where she was like, and there was somebody shitting in the street. And I think that the implication was meant to be that it was a foreigner shitting in the street, and that's what's happening now because of all the foreigners coming in. But like, she didn't specify that, and I think plenty of people have taken a shit in the street before. You know,
Hasn't, yeah.
I mean, yeah, whom amongst us?
Men are
but
always so annoying.
Yeah.
Men are always shitting in the street,
Yeah, they love it.
you know, as opposed to pissing.
Have
Have you ever taken a piss in the
what
street, actually?
I ever taken a piss in the street?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
I love doing
Okay.
it.
Have you?
Why, you haven't?
I have.
Okay, cool. Good. Phew. Whew. We're in good company.
I knew someone who, she was sort of reclaiming women pissing in the street. You know, she was like, if men can do it, why can't I? But she started doing it in the smoking area of pubs. It's like, I don't think anyone's supposed to do it there.
Yeah. I love being dragged out and being like, you see what they're doing? It's like that one. This
Yeah.
is democracy manifest. I will say that like when that woman said shitting in the street, the reaction from the crowd was like, ugh. As in, they had this feeling like where they were like, I know this is my guy and I'm supposed to be supporting them, but I would like a normal person to be speaking to me.
Yeah.
That was very clearly what the feeling was. It was like, I'm a normal though. Why are all these people so fucking crazy? And then once it was whittled down to like just the absolute, like, because they all just kind of left after a while, where it was like, ugh, these guys are like, I guarantee they were just fed up of hanging out with each other. So the ones
Yeah.
who were left were just shouting at the back of this stage, going like, "Repent, you are sinners in the eyes of the Lord." And then I walked down some street, and there was another like guy on a microphone. He was an American who was talking about God, and he was wearing a MAGA hat. I'd never seen a MAGA hat in the wild.
I've seen one. They are very rare.
He said something about women being liars and Jesus needing to accept Jesus Christ into your heart. I can't remember. I should have filmed it, but I didn't.
What could be wrong with that?
Yeah.
Speaking of men who hate women, the hit show Uncharted.
Ex-Special Forces soldier Ray Goggins
Going to be one of the toughest challenges you'll ever face in your life.
takes well-known faces
I can't do it.
There's no way down from here.
through some of the toughest terrains across 3 continents
This doesn't feel real.
in a test of nerve, endurance and survival. Uncharted
Do not look down.
starts Wednesday, May 14th on RTE1 and RTE Player.
What was it? Ray Goggins is the host. Liam Radko is a guest. And Lyra.
Lyra.
It was annoying to me that she didn't have a second name.
Yeah, I tried to Google her. I just had to type in Lyra and singer. And eventually I did find her. And she actually is very good at singing. I thought she would just be kind of lame or something, you know?
Yeah. Down your camera there. Come in.
All right, fine. He's going to fuck up.
Yeah, probably. But sure. That's
So,
life,
yeah.
isn't it?
The show is called Uncharted. Not to be confused with the popular Naughty Dog video game.
Uncharted.
Also called Uncharted, and it's hosted by Ray Goggins, who's a former Special Forces soldier, like
Yeah.
armed.
First of all, before we even begin,
Mm-hmm.
I like when they're like, he's in the Irish Special Forces. And it's like, that's like, it's the Irish Army. It's not impressive. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So, like, I'm sure he's tougher than I am, but I don't think he's tougher than, any
well,
other.
that's sort of like the whole show, isn't it? Like the RTE thing about like where it's like they're gonna.
Let's turn off the camera again.
You're fucking. I'm gonna kill you.
Um,
Do you ever see those Kramer outtakes where he's like threatening Julia Louis-Dreyfus? Where it's like,
yeah.
he's like some people when they fuck up, they're like, oh my god, and then he's like, I'm gonna hit you in the head with a fucking 2x4. He's so angry.
Yeah.
Shit.
What? What do I need this for?
I'm gonna get a 4x4 and beat you with it.
So, like, it's clearly meant to be modeled off for like Bear Grylls or like that sort of thing, where it's like we're pushing you to the absolute limit of your abilities. But because it's
Yeah.
RTE, I know that that's not going to happen, and that's absolute. Like, I don't want to spoil it too much, but the idea of like watching Leo Varadkar climb a ladder, you're kind of like, this isn't really doing that much for me. I know it's hard. It's not that fucking hard. I'm sorry.
I get, yeah, like I say, like you say, it's tough, but like, yeah, the whole thing is when you. I know it turned out he was making it up, but like Bear Grylls is like, dropped into the middle of the Arctic or something in the wilderness, and then with this one, it's like we're gonna climb this mountain, and then they walk a bit, and then there's a ladder. It's like, oh, so people are climbing this all the time. You know what I mean? There's a ladder, like.
You're not even trying to hide it. There's bits of it where it's like they have to scale this cliff face using only the cables that have been laid out by previous climbers. I was like, this is like a fucking package then, isn't it? Like, I could go on this. I thought you were going to take me someplace that like nobody, like very few people could get to.
Yeah. And then there is also that effect that with this thing where it's like, there's a bit where it's supposed to be like a real dangerous climb, and then there's like a shot from above. You know what I mean? So it's like, so the camera guy, he's up there already, and he's a camera. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Not only that, all right, like we know that because they're like, well, if the camera guy is up there, then somebody's made it to the top already, and also you already know that because there's a rope tied to them, so somebody has gone up ahead and clearly put that rope there as well. But the thing that's really funny is when Varadkar is like clinging off of this rock and going, I can't do it. And then you just see like Ray Goggins standing next to him. You know what I mean? They just like, we're like, not even like, they're like side by side with each other. And he's got his arms folded going like, you can, Leo, you can do it. It was like, why don't you just go where Ray is? He's standing up like nothing is going on.
So it was a 4-day adventure climbing, what was the mountain? Dragons?
Something, yeah. The dragon.
So
I didn't even write down the name of the mountain. I mean, so like the first thing that happens is they get Leo Varadkar driving in a 4x4, and he's like, you know, like I used to be a politician and I'm only out of it now since November, so it'll be interesting now to kind of show the real me. And there's a pang of desperation off of it for sure. But at no point in this do you like. I don't know whether he started off this way. He probably did, but like there is nothing there. It's like American Psycho, you know, where it's like you can press my palm and feel flesh against yours, but I am simply not there. Like he is just. If there ever was anything, it's wilted years ago.
There was also a great moment there where Lyra goes. She was very good at like talking.
Oh yeah,
you know. In a way that Varadkar wasn't. And she goes like, when you were being driven, you used to have a driver. Did you sit the front or the back?
Mm.
And Varadkar goes, yeah, I always sat in the front. Lie.
No, he did. Lie.
First lie. Also, he mentions that he listens to Vogue Williams' podcast.
I know. And he's on first name terms with them. He goes, I listened to Joan and Vogue talk about it. Or sorry, Joanne.
Yeah.
So he's talking about Joanne McNally.
Yeah. I thought those. Varadkar didn't give a lot away, but there were certain bits where I was like, that's very curious. I'm surprised at that.
Well, I'm like, he's very curated. He's definitely got advisors, and then they were coaching him on the tender moment, which we'll obviously get to. But when he's driving, like I don't know, I understand maybe politicians have to be driven around in security purposes and stuff, but it still sticks in my craw when he goes, oh, I haven't actually driven in 13 years. And at one point, like later on, he's like, if I go to a house party, then the driver has to wait outside, which is pretty handy. So he said that the driver would be waiting for him till 3 a.m. And I was just raging thinking about that. That's the most conservative I think I've ever been. It's just the idea of like Varadkar in the George shifting young ones and some guy sitting in a car outside waiting for him.
Yeah. Also, like, the Taoiseach has a driver.
Yeah.
And maybe the Taoiseach does, I don't know. But, like, the Minister for Health doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, he's like, I haven't driven in 13 years. It's like, 13 years ago, you weren't even a minister.
Yeah. It's mad that he just uses every opportunity to talk about how, you know, he loves power. He loves the idea of being the big man. So, I mean, you know, we have to take it into account that they're recording over 4 days. They're going to, you know, whittle it down, and then they're going to try and highlight the contrast between each of them. Lyra seems to be the one who understands the assignment, as they say, where it's like, I'm going to get my nails done, and I'm going to head out here and go, oh, geez, what am I like? I got my nails done. It was like, yeah, no, that's really stupid. And then she, like, brings her, like, makeup bag and is like, geez, can I put all this makeup in my bag and go out? And then Ray has to go, you can't put your fucking makeup in the bag, you silly bitch. And it's like, she knows that she can't put the makeup in the bag, but she knows that she's on a TV show where she has to, like, heighten these contrasts, okay?
Yeah.
So
With
she's
Varadkar,
kind of...
does not, like, at all. Even though at the start... Also, sorry, I think about the nails.
Yeah.
Varadkar held on to that joke the entire show. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah.
But, like, so at the start, Lyra's like, look at me with my nails. And Varadkar's like, yeah, that's mad. You know?
Mm.
And then... So it's 4 days, and every day he does some variation of, like, in you with the nails. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then on the very last bit, everything I've ever written down, he's like, oh yeah, at the end, there's this bit about like, what have you learned,
Yeah. Oh,
And Lyra's like,
yeah.
we can talk about what he said later, but her thing was, I was bulimic because the industry said I didn't look like a pop star.
Mm.
And then Veronica goes, I can't believe they said that, particularly with those nails.
Yeah.
And it's like, it is the definition of that thing of like, the guy who makes one funny joke and then keeps bringing it up for the rest of his life. Except he didn't even make the joke.
Well, even in that one instance is where it could have potentially landed, because he is bringing it up throughout. But at the end of it, where he's like, "You're telling me that you're not a pop star and you're climbing a mountain with those nails?" You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
There is a way to. It kind of reminds me of the Stuart Lee bit where, like, that one where it's like the guy, the cruise ship comedian who asks somebody what their job is, and he goes, "I'm in oil," and he goes, "Oh, are you a sardine?" You know?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And then it turns out that that's just the way he responds constantly, and it just worked this one time. But anyway, that's what I feel like Radker just doing the nail bit constantly, and then at the end where it goes like, they said that, I couldn't be a pop star, and he's like, of course you're a pop star, you're climbing a mountain with those nails. Like, okay, it worked this time.
Yeah. You got lucky, like.
Yeah. He's just so, like, the thing that becomes very interesting about it is seeing how, I already knew he was quite lacking in charisma, but even for a politician, it was like, how the fuck did you manage to get to where you were with, like, being so inept? And you clearly have, like, a team of people to help you, and it's kind of like Keir Starmer. It's that thing of, like, you have an inability to be able to just
to
look
be real
like a human
in any
being.
Way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I felt at the start Radko was really trying to seem tough. You know what I mean? Like Lyra was going like, I'm worried, blah blah blah. And there was a bit where it's like, it's piss and rain.
Yeah.
And then Ray Gawkins like, how do you feel? And I was like, I'm nervous. And he goes, you Leo? And Leo goes, I guess I wish it wasn't raining, but and it's like, just felt like he was really trying to be the hard man.
Yeah. I loved Ray got like any of this stuff. It kind of reminds me of Quiz Zone, which is another RTE, an incredible RTE show. I always love the kids who are really bought into like the seriousness of the whole thing, and then they have this kind of stony faced presenter, but like obviously how ludicrous it is. The situation of them going into ball pits and being like it's life or death is very funny. It's comparable then to Ray Goggins just standing there in the rain like, take down your hood and let me see your eyes, Leo. Like, what are you talking about? You're going to go to fucking Hillary and somebody is just,
So after the introduction, they got on the horse. They're doing the horse fighting bit.
Yeah. And like the thing about it is like, to the naked eye, it's one of the most boring things you could possibly watch is somebody being on a horse. But also having been around a horse, I would be pretty shit scared. Because like,
I also was impressed because the horses are like, I thought it was just going to be a horse walking across land. The horse was doing some mad rock climbing.
Yeah.
Did you notice that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I've never seen a horse do that. I also thought it was mad to see Racker said he did some riding as a teenager.
Yeah.
And then you said, and he's ridden some teenagers as well.
You're right, I did say that. Would you believe I actually also wrote that down as well? Because I was like, oh, baby, that's getting clipped.
I did a little bit of riding when I was a teenager.
And then there's a bit, I love this bit, where he's like, they're on the horse, they're going to cross, and then he's like, Ray's like, are you nervous, Leo? And he goes, yeah, I suppose I am, because with my medical training, I've seen many broken bones. Many
I forgot
bone
about
injuries.
that.
It's like, you know, he's like, I'm a doctor, so I know if you fall off a horse, you're going to hurt yourself. I think everyone knows that, you know. I know bones can break.
Not to give him too much credit, but I wonder whether like a producer is saying like, well, you need to have something. So you need to just be coming up with reasons for why you're... I mean, the doctor stuff is bullshit, but the politics stuff, you could tell maybe potentially some producer is like, can you like big up the fact that you were the Taoiseach at one point?
Yeah. And he gets pretty good at doing that later on.
Yeah.
There's a few lines. I also find it mad how like Lyra and Ray are just getting on so much better than
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Leo and anyone else.
Yeah.
Ray Goggins even makes a comment about that later, where he's like, on day one, he goes, I think with Radker, he's seen what can go wrong. He sees what can go wrong and not what can go right, which is a real chore.
Yeah.
And I really felt like that was Ray being like, Radker's really annoying.
I think Ray also was... I mean, they were trying to, you know, it's the usual shit of like trying to find the drama in it and bring that out. And the funny thing about it is like, you know, the epic swelling music, the kind of self-seriousness of the whole thing. And then to hear Radker talk and just be like, everything that he says is like political triangulating training where you're just like, well, whenever in doubt, just say yeah and repeat whatever the person said to you. Okay.
Yeah. He's doing a hell of a lot of that.
Lyra would be like, oh, this is mad, isn't it? Isn't this crazy? And there's like, yeah, it's pretty crazy, yeah. You know, like just like this is what normal people sound like, and it's like, you know, I don't know. Like the thing is that I would not be acting any different in that way if I was in that situation. But there's something
a bit more chat. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that the thing is that I'm not in... The reason it's fine for me to be like that in that situation is because I haven't put myself in that position where I'm not going to be invited on that show, okay? You're like a person of like public interest. You have a front-facing job, and the idea of just being like... he really seems to have like nothing going on in there at all.
No.
Not like he's like stupid or anything, although he is, but it's more that he just kind of feels nothing. That's what I genuinely think.
Yeah. He really doesn't seem to have a personality.
No. But like there's a bit where I'm not getting it right because I didn't write it down correctly, but Ray says that Leo's brain is like a hamster on a wheel, and I thought that was funny. But I think that I'm imagining a hamster on a wheel, like Homer Simpson brain hamster on a wheel, you know, like just some cutaway gag where you go into his head and he's listening to Turkey in the Straw or something.
Yeah, he's listening to Dua Lipa.
Yeah, or Kylie, probably Kylie.
Yeah. Ray seemed really not to like Radker.
Well, I think that like what Ray hit upon, he seemed to be disturbed by Radker. That's what I kind of got. And I think that you know, he's like, well, he's just one of the guests and this is the show and we have to inject the drama into it. But at the same time, it's very revealing of like, okay, this guy he's talking to me and I'm saying stuff and he's assessing what he's going to say before he says it to me. So he's not genuine. So I think that that's what Goggins was hitting on.
Well, there's also a bit where Ray is like, he goes, Radker isn't thinking at all about the fact that we're a trio. He's just thinking about himself. And we have to tell him what to do all the time.
Yeah.
And then I noticed throughout the show, they are constantly saying to Radker, like, don't worry, the three of us are here. You know, we're here to help you. You know, like, and you're gonna see Radker being like, "Oh yeah, they are here to help me," but there's no sense of like, and I'll help them in return. You know, It's like, great, these people are my assistants, I guess. Lyra isn't very good at it, but Ray seems fine.
And I can't fire her? No, you can't fire
her. He's extremely bad at the banter, because when they get to the cave, and Lyra's like, this is like Batman's lair, you know? And Varker goes,
yeah, like it is, I suppose. It's like Batman, yeah. No, what did he say?
He's like, yeah, it's been like that. He goes, I don't really know. I'm more of a Spider-Man fan than a Batman fan.
I completely missed that. That's insane that he said that. What the fuck?
And it's like, first of all, it's mad that he has a preference. But second of all, like, everyone knows Batman's lair. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's not like deep lore. Someone goes, it's like Batman's lair. You know what that means, how to talk about it. You don't go, I've never seen Batman, I only like Spider-Man.
Yeah, because he prefers teenage boys.
He doesn't even go like, maybe there's spiders in there. You know what I mean? He's just so like, I don't want to think about Batman because I don't like it, so I'm not even going to talk about it.
I mean, at the end of it, because it was like misty and raining and just constantly like you can tell by the end he's just like, this fucking sucks. I guess like I'm wondering about the cope aspect of it, where he's like, that's fine, my political life may be over, but I'll find a new life in the media. I'll go on this show and it's fine, and because that's what he's saying at the start. And then maybe he's in that cave and he's like drenched and his clothes are hanging off him. Then this influencer musician who he doesn't fucking know at all is going like, Jesus, like the Batcave, isn't it? And he's like, yeah, fucking is, isn't it? It's great, the Batcave. And I mean, I hope that what we're seeing is him being miserable as opposed to him just being normal. And there was a bit then where so they start making pasta, and then first of all they start making the fire. The fire was very funny because Leo's like, yep, job done, and then Ray's like, no, it has to be fucking roaring, it is raining, we have this fire like exposed to the elements. And then eventually they get the thing going, and they get this pot of pasta, and so they make the pasta and they, put it into plates and stuff. And then people are like, it's fine, it's grand, it's not that, nothing. And he goes, I wouldn't serve it to any presidents. Oh, sorry, I should do it in the voice. I wouldn't serve it to any presidents or prime ministers, but yeah, sure, it's grand. It's grand.
Yeah. Yeah, that was such a delicious moment, There's also there are two other things he did where, they don't have tents.
Yeah.
And Liars, giving it a lot of like, no tent, we're just out in the open, what'll happen. And Fracker sort of doing a bit of like, of course, of course we don't have tents. Like,
yeah.
And then it's like, what if the fire goes out? Because I suppose we'll sleep in the dark. He's trying to give the impression that like he couldn't care less. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Can't believe this one wants tents. Obviously, we're going to sleep out. Ray is also doing a thing where he's like trying to like pull a bit of. I think producer must give him questions to ask or something. Because they really come out of nowhere, and he's just looking at them and he goes like, "What's your favorite comfort food?"
Yeah. Yeah.
And Lyra goes, "Oh, McDonald's,"
Yeah, yeah.
And then Fracker, he goes,
"Oh yeah."
He goes, "Ice cream. I love ice cream." And I know he said ice cream because Joe Biden likes ice cream.
That's funny. Yeah.
And then he goes, "And chicken wings."
Well, I think the reason that he might have said ice cream, I think, is because, I don't know whether there's any veracity to this. This is just a feeling that I have. But those sort of gym guys, they'd allow themselves one treat and it would be like a scoop of like strawberry ice cream. And then they'd probably extrapolate that out being like, oh, I'm mad for the ice cream. I have like at least one scoop a week.
And he goes, and I love chicken wings. Chicken wings, though, they have 90 to 100 calories per wing, so...
Yeah.
You ever said that?
I do
was
remember
like,
it. That was crazy.
You are deranged.
He's fucking psycho. He's a fucking psychopath.
Yeah.
Like
you're in the middle of a cave, you're completely miserable, and you're like, oh, I wish I could have a chicken wing, but I suppose it's better off because they have 100 calories per wing.
Oh, God. So scary. He's such a scary man to me.
Yeah.
I've written down here how much money you have to spend to make a show this boring. Because it's like, I was thinking about the crew, they get flown over, you got the camera equipment, then you have to go to presumably like, I don't think it's like a package holiday, but I imagine you have to organize with people being like, okay, we're going to be up here and filming this way. Maybe you don't want other people coming up the same trail, so you're going to buy it for like the day or something. You fly Radcrew over, you have to pay Radcrew, you have to pay your one as well. There's all the stuff that's involved with it. And then it's like, Radcrew, you must climb this big long ladder. And I was like, what the fuck are we doing here?
Yeah.
Do you know?
I know. Like, any bit where you were just seeing them do things was insanely boring. Like, the whole show was boring, but like, those are the worst bits. It's like them on a horse or them walking. It's just like, this is so tedious. So that's sort of the end of day one.
Imagine if it wasn't raining, by the way. Imagine if it was like sunny. How much more boring it would have been.
Yeah, it would have been crazy.
Wait, so I had a... Well, yeah, so I suppose we did say that, it was the end of day one, and then they wake up, and then they're going to climb whatever.
I suppose, sorry, I have one more note about day one, where Rocker gets told to go get water.
Yeah.
He's like filling the bottles up with water from the waterfall.
Yeah.
And he has a real moment where he obviously thinks he's been really, like, what's the word? Impulsive.
Yeah.
And he drinks the water directly from the waterfall.
Mm.
And he's like telling the camera this. And he's like, I just thought, what the hell? Just drink it directly from the waterfall. Why not? You're only here once, you know? Like, that is his big moment of like, live a little Radcrew, will you?
Yeah.
Where he's like, I don't know. It just seems. I think
like,
for anyone else, they wouldn't even consider that notable.
Well, the advisors are like, okay, like, loosen up. It's all good. Just, whatever comes naturally. If you feel something, just do it and try to give your bit of your personality to it. And then he's like, okay, so the guy's like, go and get water. And where from? Oh, yeah, from the waterfall. Okay, so he's like pouring it into the bottle. He's like, yeah, I just thought I'd drink it straight from the waterfall. It's just kind of crazy like that. Like,
yeah.
All right, man. Well,
yeah,
that's fine. That's fine. I mean, you can do anything else as well. You can, just
that's enough.
Yeah.
Like, I've tried enough things now.
Yeah. I didn't know that that's what he meant. I thought that, because I don't think they even showed the footage of him drinking from the waterfall.
No.
He just said that he did it.
Maybe he didn't even do it.
Maybe he didn't even do it.
Obviously I did it.
Because when he said, like, because he goes down, he goes like, yeah, Leo, get some water. And so he walked down, and then I thought, well, where's he getting it from? Like the river. And then they were like, he's getting it straight from the waterfall. And I was like, okay, well, I guess, wasn't that what he was supposed to do? So that's why I wasn't really sure about that clip. But now that you've said, like, no, he drank from it himself, like, directly, then I could imagine that, yeah, that's probably what he was doing, but they didn't even catch it on film.
No.
So, I don't know.
Day two, Rocker has a realization where he goes, I understand Ray is there not just to challenge us, but to help us.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, that's how naturally suspicious this man is. It's like, I think it also shows his ego, because he's like, he's being this like special operations soldier who, as Finn McRedmond, Rocker loves, really reveres.
Yeah.
I think in Rocker's head, he's like, this is the competition. You know what I mean? me against a soldier. Let's see who wins, you know? As if he could possibly win. But it took him a whole day to realize that this guy, like, is on his side.
Yeah. Wait a minute, I'm on a TV show. So then, like, the first thing is, like, this one was really funny to me because this was, like, the most, like, trying to inject some sort of false drama into it, but also failing spectacularly, because what it is like a kind of a somewhat steep incline, but there's, like, what would you call it? Not barb. Is it rebarb? You know, like the kind of...
Yeah, there's a rebar ladder. Like.
Yeah, so there's a rebar ladder, and Radker is, like, climbing up it with the rope attached to himself and a helmet and a harness, okay?
Yeah.
And then he'll be, like, climbing up it, and then Ray will literally be standing, like, right next to him. Just, like, no harness, no rope. Ray is just, like, standing there with his hands on his hips, just going, yeah, fair play, you can do this. And then Leo's like, whew, like, getting, like, really, the rocks are really slippy. But I've written down one thing he said: I never put up election posters. So he'd never climbed the ladder. He'd never put up election posters, he said.
Yeah, I did notice. Very telling, isn't it?
It's crazy. I think any politician, you know, we have Bridget Purcell, who's ran for a bunch of seats, and then... Do we have any other politicians listening? I don't know. But either way, I'm pretty sure any politician would tell you, I have had to put up a poster at least fucking once. The idea that Radker's like, I never did that. I mean, like, maybe he's just exaggerating. I know that he probably hasn't had to do it in the past few years. Certainly not. But I never put up an election poster.
I can imagine him never doing it. You know what I mean?
Oh, I could easily imagine it. I'm just saying, like, I don't know how you avoid it, you know?
Yeah.
He just stands at the bottom with cable ties, handing them to some fucking sycophant who wants to canvass for him.
Yeah. There's another bit about his politics. Oh, yeah, sorry. So Ray comes out with another question. One of his trademark out of the blue questions.
Yeah.
So they're all, like, standing on the side of a cliff, and he goes, does being out of the public office change how you interact with people? And then he goes, I'm sure you got a lot of flack. And Radker's response is, it's quite a long response. I'm going to read out bits of it. He goes, well, what's good is now I can be nasty back when people give me flack.
Which is crazy, because he has always been nasty back, constantly.
Yeah.
He do you remember when one of the cervical cancer scandal, one of the women died as a result of that, and their family said, I talk about this all the time just because I think it's the most fucked up thing that he's ever done, but that part where they go like, well, we never got a call, they never got an apology, and he's like, actually, I think you'll find I did apologize. You know, like he doesn't have any qualm saying, like, the nasty shit to people.
Yeah.
And, like, people will die, and he'll be like, well, you know, like the homeless guy who was, like, run over by a bulldozer, and then he'll just be like, well, he was offered accommodation and he didn't take it. You know, like, he's perfect.
There's a bit that was reminiscent here where he goes, one of the worst things that happened was a woman came up to me to tell me that her sister had taken her own life because of me, because of the housing crisis.
Yeah.
And then Ray's like, how'd you deal with that?
Yeah.
And his answer is, I have to remind myself that there are upsides to this job as well as downsides.
That's a weird thing to say.
It's so weird, because he's like, that means his way of coping is like, right, well, this is shit, but I have a private driver, the salary's good, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what a human being would say would be like, you know, it's tough, but I try. You know, I just have to remind myself I'm working as hard as I can. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas his cope is like, well, there's a lot of money, so...
Well, also that's the good idea that the negative is a given as well. It's kind of like, you know, well, I take over, I'm in charge of the country, so, like, I'm people think that I'm responsible for every bad thing that happens. And, you know, that's one of the downsides of this, unfortunately. Like, it's actually just saying, like, it's almost saying that it was inevitable that that person was going to die, and I just happened to be the guy in charge who got blamed for it. So he's also not taking any responsibility for it. I also found that funny that nobody kind of went like, oh, you weren't responsible for that.
Yeah.
Like,
I was really trying to suss out Ray's politics. You know what I mean? I didn't, but it was just like, I don't know. There are just bits where I was like, does Ray hate Bragg?
I just think it was
politically.
I think they're like apolitical, as in they're kind of like the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, the politician. Do you know what I mean? Like, as in, this is the happy families. You know, Mrs. Politician, the politician's wife. You know. I don't know why I thought, but you know the happy families thing. It's just like
I do.
They're this. It's just like any society. Somebody goes in there and then they wake up in the morning and they do politics and then they go to bed and then eventually they retire from doing politics and that's it. And like what their politics is, what their ideology is, kind of irrelevant because this is just a system that kind of handles itself regardless of who's in charge. And that's what, like, I don't know whether Radker thinks that, but like it certainly is what allows him to be on one of these shows as a celebrity, as if, you know, he isn't responsible for a lot of misery, and like it is a laundering of his reputation, like Matt Hancock appearing on, like when Matt Hancock appeared on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, and it was like, you were partying while you were imposing restrictions on people and they died. And the way that the Tories handled COVID as well is like so many unnecessary deaths, and like Johnson, he almost died himself. It was chaotic, okay? And he goes on and then he gets to have this little tender moment. So like the advisors are saying to Radker, it's like, just keep your guard up until one moment on day 3 where you're allowed to divulge some bit of information that's personal. And I do think, like, I certainly felt like he was very emotional recounting that, and it didn't make me feel sorry for him. It in fact made me feel happy that he might actually be haunted by something, you know? But having said that, like you're pointing out, his response was like, well, I have to remember that there are good parts of this job, as opposed to the necessary bad parts where somebody kills themselves because of the housing crisis, which I'm enabling. I kind of, you know, go on, sorry.
Tell me if you think this is a bit of a barb against Simon Harris. He goes, another regret. I was worried I'd have regrets over seeing someone else finish work I've started.
That was funny.
Luckily that hasn't happened yet.
Luckily that will never that'll never happen. What do you mean? Like, somebody's going to finish work that I've started? You didn't fucking do anything.
But do you think he was like, maybe we're reading too much into it, but do you think he was like, no, they fucked it up since I left?
I mean, I think that was the intention or something like that. Do you remember, like, when all this stuff, like the height of Brexit, when Boris Johnson, like, quoted some classics? I can't remember what it was, but then Radker's, like, witty retort was to quote classics right back at him. And, so it would not surprise me at all that he's like, I need to get in, like, a little zinger. And then they're like, well, you can say this, where it's like, nobody's managed to nobody's managed to complete the work that I started. Like, I was necessary to the project. It was like, it's clearly meant to be aimed at them, but it's also so lightweight that it barely makes. Like, Simon Harris would hear that and just be like, all right, say what you like. I'm in power, you're not, so shut up.
Yeah. Nobody's managed to inflict the cruelty that I did.
I put down, and it was the laziest research possible, because he's talking about, like, they think that I'm responsible for the housing crisis, said this. So I literally just typed in Radker housing, and here are the headlines that have come up. I didn't do, and that's the only research that I've done, okay? Sorry. Radker, people turning down multiple housing offers one of the reasons for homelessness. Radker defends rent control. One person's rent is another person's income. Eviction ban. Government wins Dáil vote on ending measure later this month. So, like, you know, this is where he stands on housing. And, like, a lot of the confusion sometimes, let's say, like Rory Hearn type figures, they'll be like, if only the... Well, I think he's gotten better about this over the years, but if it used to be like, if only the government knew that they could do this to help the housing crisis, as opposed to this is by design, you know?
Yeah.
Radker's Minister for Housing was Owen Murphy, who, like, introduced co-living and fucked everything and then left and talked about having bad mental health and drinking too much in the Dáil bar, which we pay for. And presumably drinking in the Dáil bar during COVID when nobody else could be drinking. Wait, no, sorry, they would have been in the convention centre, but I'm presuming there'd be a bar in there as well. Maybe I shouldn't, but I don't know why I'm bothering giving them credit. All I'm saying is that this is part of an ideological project that's intentional by Radker that is benefiting himself and his mates. And then somebody comes up and goes, you did this to my sister and I'll never forgive you. And his response is to be like, well, there are upsides as well. Like,
yeah.
Like, he doesn't, I guess he doesn't feel complicit at all. But I guess I don't think he's a very emotionally intelligent person, because I think clearly he's still hurting. But the way he tries to comfort himself is like, you know, it's not your fault. He doesn't feel like, he won't feel responsible for it. So
no.
It won't be healed. So that's a good thing, you know? Like, when you think about like Jimmy Carter, for example, where it's like people, like, I don't know much about this, but I've heard, this is what people have described about him. He's the only president who felt guilty for what, you know, he'd done. So, you know, what his post-presidency is him like trying to clean his soul a little bit. Whereas Radker, like, I think that if he... I don't think he's capable of doing it, because he's incapable of admitting fault. But I you know what I mean? I don't know what it would look like him trying to look for, you know, seek absolution, but he's never going to seek it, so he's never going to be whole, and hopefully he just feels bad slightly for the rest of his life, and that's one thing that we can draw some sort of comfort from.
So day 4. I didn't really notice the difference between day 3 and 2.
Yeah.
But day 4, they have the skin routine thing. They're sleeping in the cave.
Yeah. Was that where they had the gas stove as well?
I can't remember. What are they, so they all have like a thing, remember? So at one stage we're all drinking whiskey. I think Radker brought whiskey.
Yeah, of course Radker brought... Radker is like an alco, isn't he? He just strikes... Because, you know, when he's trying to relate to people as well, like on the thing he's like, yeah, it works for everything when you're hungover. What was the thing he was saying works for hangovers? Oh, ice cream. He said ice cream works for hangovers. Bizarre. I don't know, man. I thought dairy was a bad thing to be having if you're hungover. But anyhow, he's kind of like a party lad, you know, like that was the, you know, during COVID, there was talk about him in the house that they have in Phoenix Park, that he was doing parties and that. He was at festivals, you know, he got caught picking his nose. There's all these pictures of him and the George. And then of course it's like, well, what are you bringing to it? Whiskey. I brought whiskey. I just was like, yeah, of course you fucking brought whiskey. Jesus.
Well, there's nothing wrong with being an alcoholic, you know? Yeah,
I mean, I'm throwing stones here and living in the glassiest of glass houses.
But Lyra brings skincare.
Yeah.
And Radker has to pretend like he doesn't know anything about skincare.
I've written that down as well. I couldn't believe that he was going, what is this fucking gay shit?
Yeah.
I put it on my face, do I? It's like, you
believed it from Ray. Like, Ray's doing the same, but it's like...
Yeah.
You know by the look of him, you know, but... Yeah, Radker's like, how do I use this? It's like...
Yeah.
Because it's especially insane, because at the start, he's like... Lyra and Radker, the reason they're talking about Williams' podcast is they're talking about like salmon sperm injections for like skincare. It's like, if you know about that experimental procedure, you know what a face wipe is.
Though, because like she asked him, "Have you heard about this?" And not only has he heard about this, he knows somebody who did it, and it looked quite good. He said,
"Yeah, they're like,
just remarkable, just insane to me that he would pretend." I will say that was like I thought that was a kind of a successful moment for the show, and once again, just Lyra showing up and understanding. This is the structure of these shows. This is how it works. It's gonna, and it did look really good to have them sitting in a cave with these little eye masks on, or like things underneath their eyes, just looking out over this breathtaking view. Okay, and seeing like Lyra with their nails, and then Ray looking like, you know, trying to look like a tough guy but having these things under his eyes. It was like, yeah, that's TV, man. You know, you did the job there. But yeah, like.
He also has a line where he goes, you know, I never wear makeup.
Yeah.
Remember that? He goes, Bertie and Enda, they both wore makeup, but I never did.
You are a fucking liar. You are such a liar. Imagine saying that.
Yeah. He talks about using the hair filler.
Yeah.
Which is at least him being truthful about something.
Well, here's the thing. So he goes like, what is this face mask? I've never seen it before in my life. Oh yeah, Bertie and Enda, they wore makeup, but I didn't. And then he says, the doll lights are so punishing from up above that I put something on my... And I was like, if somebody knows that, like somebody is like, I'm aware of my angles. I know the light over here is too harsh. I need to figure out something to put on top because I don't want to look like I'm balding. Like, imagine the Healy Rays thinking that at all. Do you know what I mean?
I know. Yeah, like Matty McGrath looks like he's dying whenever you see him.
Well, the Healy Rays are like, is there a way to put the light under me so I look worse?
Then they go back to climbing.
Ugh. Yeah.
This is where they're on the rope or whatever you call it. There's no ladder.
Yeah, they're free climbing, basic. Well, I don't know, it's not free, whatever it is. Yeah, they're climbing up an actual, what would you call it? It's just like...
harness.
Well, they have a harness, but like, what would you call it? Is it called free climbing, or is it called like...
No, free climbing is when you have nothing.
Okay.
Mountain climb. There's the normal mountain climb.
Yeah.
Which is hard, like, it's not easy. Yeah. But like... Yeah, this is where Radker really panics. And then he gets up, and it turns out he stood on Ray's head for leverage.
Yeah.
Which I found very symbolic of Radker's attitude.
Yeah, I wrote that down and wrote metaphor. Except here's the difference this time, and maybe it implies growth. He actually apologized for standing on Ray's head.
Yeah. And then when he apologizes, Ray is like, don't worry, we're a team.
Yeah.
Sort of implying that Radker still doesn't get it. You know what I mean? I think that was all for the rock climbing.
The thing about the rock climbing as well, because he was like struggling, and then the music is going boom, 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 boom. And I think they showed Lyra, is it first or last? I can't remember, but either way, Lyra is like screaming at her. And also, by the way, conveniently, both at the same impasse. Did you notice that? So like, they both struggled at the exact same spot, although Lyra actually climbed over it, as opposed to Leo climbing on top of Ray. But anyway, and Lyra like gives a bit of a dramatic moment where she like screams at herself, "Come on, Lyra, push on through!" You know, and they're like, oh my god," and so she's kind of like, "Oh, this is difficult, but there's a crew guy up there filming me, so it mustn't be impossible." Okay.
Yeah.
So, and also it's a set path provided by somebody, so I'm presuming that I can get over this. But at one point, like, Radker, this is where he sounded so much like me that it made me very upset. Where like he was going, I can't do it. And then Ray was like, you can. And he goes, I'm telling you, I can't. Okay,
Yeah.
like he said it just like I would say. That would be like, like getting frustrated, being like, "Are you calling me a liar? I can't fucking do this." You know.
Yeah.
On the final stretch, Leo is struggling badly.
I can't do anymore.
Okay, you can't. You can't. Come on, just put up there. I'm trying to hold you. Go on, Leo.
I can't pull anymore.
You can. I just need you to climb down instead of staying there.
Can't.
You're actually on me, yeah?
I know, I can't though, sorry.
But anyway, and also I would have definitely stepped on Ray's head. That would have been me as well. But the thing that I found really, like, whenever he's going, I can't do this. And then at the end, obviously, he does it. And then they get through it, and it was just like, you didn't think you could do it. And I was like, what's the fucking alternative? Because he's like, yeah, I got all the way here, and, you know, I managed to make it. And like, what, without turning back? Like, walking back 3 or 4 days? Or, like, without just being hoisted up by the camera crew who are already on the top? Like, what are you talking about? Like, you have no choice but to make it. And they're not going to show you not making it. You know, there's no fucking hope.
Yeah.
Like, somebody's going to come out of that like, because we didn't see him actually do it. So I'm presuming that it's possible that they could have just pulled him up and then been like, yeah, we did it. But then they wouldn't have put in the detail that he climbed on top of Ray.
Yeah. I used to find that I had this vision of, like, you know, Lyra's like panicking, which like, I can do it. Whereas Racker's panicking. He's like, Ray, I'm going to have to cut your rope. You're dragging me down. It's like, that's not going to help, Racker. I'm not hanging off. I'm going to have to do it anyway.
He's already halfway through. What?
Yeah. You're going to have to sacrifice yourself for me. Thank you for your service.
And then he gets up and he bludgeons Lyra in the head with the rock.
Yeah. No one can know.
Yeah. And all of you have signed NDAs.
Yeah. The next bit is good. Where Ray...
Well, one line I'd forgotten, sorry, is when Radker says, again, another line that must have been fed to him by an advisor, running a country is one thing, but climbing over a wet ladder is another thing.
Yeah.
And Radker actually says that variation on that quite a lot. He'll do something is one thing, but this is an entirely other thing. And usually it's like politics related, and then something like, and it was like, it doesn't, like, running a country is one thing, but climbing over a wet ladder is another thing. Correct. Those are two different things. I don't know why you're talking.
It doesn't illuminate either of those things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a really good moment where Ray comes out and he goes, how did you deal with regrets? He's like, he's like, how would you feel if you didn't do that? And Racker's like, I would regret it. And he's like, how do you deal with regrets? And Racker goes, one regret I have is when I'm managing teams, like ministers, I don't give words of encouragement like you gave to me.
Oh my God.
So Racker, like Ray was just going, come on, you can do it. Well done. And Racker's like, realizes he's never done that in his life.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I realized that I should have done that more often. I.e., at all. And he has an example of, like, you know, just texting people once a day saying thanks for work, well done. Like, working for Racker must be hell on earth because you're just bossing you around the whole time, never says thank you.
Yeah.
Like, here's a driver. Like, does he not, when he gets dropped off, does he not go thanks?
I would wager not. No.
It's just like the realizations Racker is having are crazy. The man's like, how old is he? 48, 45. He's like, I realize that I should say thank you to people when I'm working with them.
Yeah, I think he just
like, that's what you should be doing.
I think he was just desperate to have some sort of thing to say, but it is always very revealing the things that he ends up landing on, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you know, you're kind of like, okay, you have to look like a human being. So step one, you're on one of these reality shows. Cool. That's already, you're in people's homes. They see you in a different environment. you get to like lay your hair down and be a bit more natural. Okay, cool. That's good. Step 1. And then step 2 is obviously I'm not going to be legitimately natural. It's going to be entirely curated. I'm going to make sure that the structure of the show means that at the start of this I'm in a Jeep, and then by the third, by the start of the fucking, I don't know how the acts work. Hey, I'll do screenwriting and I don't fucking give a shit about the 3-act structure, but there's at some moment you're supposed to reveal something, okay? And so they're like, what will it be? Will it be like... So I imagine that when they were brainstorming this, they were like, could we do something that kind of talks about your virtue? So we bring up Brexit, bring up COVID. Like with Simon Harris when he's like, what makes you cry? And he goes, the children of Gaza, So it'll be something like that. It'll be like, I remember I had a very difficult moment when I, had to do something for Brexit and it really affected me or something. But they're like, no, you got to dig deeper and it has to be about the housing crisis because that's going to be on the tip of everybody's tongue. So how did the housing crisis personally affect you when you were made feel bad by somebody who was the victim of the housing crisis? Okay? And it just showed and so then it's like, you need to show that, you really felt for them and you really related to them. That's the same with Matt Hancock talking about COVID on I'm a Celebrity. I can't remember what the thing was, and I don't think that the fellow contestants let him off that lightly, if I remember, but they didn't, excoriate him or anything. But anyway, the point is he has to, they can, the advisors can only take him so far before he has to do something himself. And that's the part where he constantly fucks up, where it's like, you got to be in a car talking to a normal person. Okay, can do. Yeah, cool. Thank you. Yeah, I'm driving a car. Yeah. And then it's like, okay, you have to have a tender moment. Okay. And it was very difficult. Okay, well, how do you deal with that? Well, I just think about the good times, really. And then at the end, they go like, what have you learned on your trip? And then he goes, just to kind of treasure every moment and kind of say thank you to people. Yeah. Like nothing. What would, okay, let's say, if you did that, James, and also you're a politician.
Yeah. And
you're like this, people are going to be watching this and making judgments about me. What would be your one? And it can be, corny is fine. Children of Gaza is fine.
Yeah, I'd probably just go like, shows you can dream big or something. You might think you can't do something and you can. I don't know.
I guess it just shows me that there's a lot more to learn, and maybe I've been sitting behind the desk for a long time and there's a world out there and I kind of need to embrace that a bit more, and there's different ways of thinking,
Yeah.
That could be one.
No, at the end he goes like, at the very end he's like, I realize I'm a city boy and I like my creature comforts.
Yeah.
And he says, if I'd known how hard it was going to be, I wouldn't have done it.
I know, that was funny. I wouldn't have done it.
One of the final things in it, I found very curious, was Lyra goes, she's like, I like Riker, we got on well. And then she says, Riker and I like a lot of the same things, which will surprise a lot of people.
Why?
But as well, we didn't really see any of that.
No.
I wonder if they edited it out. Like, we didn't really learn anything that Riker liked.
No. I don't think they edited it out. I just think that Lyra went above and beyond the Call of Duty. She was like the one just keeping the energy in that show. Like she just, and even at the end, so they're having a nice beer outside of a little bar, and Riker is just sitting down and clearly thinking like, thank fuck that's over. And then Lyra is up and dancing with a bunch of people, and just unstoppable. Very, somebody who is singing for their supper, if that's the right, like she's really like, I got the greatest job in the world, I can't believe I get paid to do this shit, Whereas Bradker is like, oh god, I used to get paid this way more to sit in a room and do way less. All I had to do was, like, when Simon Harris anything to go by, all I had to do was like a phone call a day, and I got paid like twice the amount that I am for this show.
Yeah. Yeah, I really feel like Baraka got absolutely nothing out of it.
No.
Which is cool. It's cool to see.
It is good to see. It is good to see him be so tortured in many ways, because like he is somebody who likes power, okay? And he likes influence. And I mean, like I said, I don't know whether it was a producer saying it. I wouldn't telling him to emphasize his political background, but I would have no trouble believing that he would do it of his own volition anyway. Like, I imagine like insufferable to his friends to be like around like, yeah, this pint actually reminds me of the time where me and Macron had a few madries down at in Luxembourg. I don't know, like it just you could imagine it. What I'm saying is like, remember when he was resigning and he was crying and he was upset, okay?
Yeah.
And this is really like, you haven't seen the last of me. I'm going to be on an RTE program where I climb a wet ladder in South Africa. and then not only is that he's kind of, would that be sort of hell for him, I feel, but also he is not even able to get anything out of it. Like, he's looking at one of the most beautiful sights in the entire world, and you can tell that it's not moving him at all.
Yeah.
He just feels nothing, you know? And yeah, the kind of immediate, like the most emotion you can hear in his voice is when he thinks he's going to die. So I think he's kind of like a Trump sort of guy where like, it's like an amoeba thing. It's like living or dying is the only thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I it's kind of scary. It's kind of like, I guess it's a psychopathic tendency, isn't it? You know, where it's like you feel nothing, but like if your life was threatened, then you'd be like instantly kick into survival mode. Like, I need to do something. I'm not going to prison. I'm not going to die. Like, something has to happen, you know, like to make sure that I keep going, and I'm the only person.
So which XT show did you like more? This or the Enda Kenny one about trains?
I never watched the one about trains, but I genuinely, and you know, people say I'm wrong. I think Enda Kenny is an evil man. I think he's a bad man.
Yeah.
But I think that he feels things and thinks things, and I think he's a sick man and an ambitious man. You know, like, but that's sick sort of ambition. But I could imagine that there are things that move him and make him, you know, relish being alive, you know.
I hope the trend continues. I hope that Simon Harris gets a show where he has to like get shot into space or something.
Yeah.
Or like do the Red Bull paragliding challenge.
Yeah.
You know,
because
I just want more T-shirts to do more things.
If Simon Harris was to climb that wet ladder, he would die. He would. he would die.
You know, at the start when they're like driving the thing and they're like, it's Rocky, and then they look at the back seat. Simon Harris is dead.
Yeah, like they're like, somehow like we went over a particularly big rock and it cracked his rib and pierced his heart.
Yeah, he's like bleeding out his mouth. It's like,
not even, sorry, he puts on the seatbelt and suffocates. You know, Kneecap are going to be on it.
Really? I didn't realize it was a show. I never heard of it.
This is the first season.
Oh, right, okay.
Kneecap are on it next week, but apparently he had some other show that he did, Ray Goggins.
So there are more episodes coming, are there?
Yeah.
I probably won't watch any more of this show ever.
I mean, I'd be interested to see what Kneecap do.
I haven't heard of any of these other people. Leah Varadkar, Lyra, Kneecap, Joe Canning.
Don't know them.
Thomas
I presume they're
Barr.
a sports star, something. Thomas Barr. Don't know him.
Ellen Keane.
That sounds familiar, but...
And Aisling Thompson.
Some of these are athletes. Like, I don't want to see athletes climb a mountain.
One of those Paralympics, so that's something.
Yeah. Okay.
I wonder what type.
I love when like Ray is trying to be like imposing and intimidating and kind of like, you know, Ray, he's a real hard ass. He's like, he really failed to come across as a hard ass at all. He actually looked quite decent, just encouraging.
Yeah.
Not to Varadkar though, which was funny. Because you remember when Varadkar was like, way back in the day, Varadkar was giving out that journalists were always criticizing him, and I was, you know, everybody was like, what in the world? Like, all of the journalists are like, we suck you off on the regular. What are you fucking talking about? But like, so like when Ray tells him to take down, like, you know, for the show, Ray has to look a little imposing for like a split second. So he goes, take down your hood so I can see your eyes. And then Varadkar's like, yeah, he's real tough. He didn't look like he was going to be very nice. He seemed really like, what the fuck is this guy's problem? And
so Ellen Keane is a Paralympic swimmer. She is one arm. Aisling Thompson is a camogie star.
Okay.
Which we wear a skirt or jeans.
That's what the debate is over.
Yeah. Joe Canning is a Galway hurler.
Come on.
Thomas Barr is a track and field star. So boring.
Yeah, I really want like Samantha Mumba to be climbing up it or something.
I want it all to be politicians. If I'm
Get Michael Healy Ray climbing that. No, Danny.
Like
Danny.
Brian Cowan. Do like Death Valley, whatever it's called.
They try to. Ray tries to give him an EpiPen because he thinks he was stung by bees. Who else? Who's another politician? I mean, obviously Danny. That would be just the funniest thing ever. I'm just imagining Danny like sliding down the side of a mountain. And also, he's not wearing any gear. He's still in that stupid oaf suit.
Yeah. You can also imagine Danny like picking snakes up off the ground and eating them.
Yeah. No, Danny would be definitely the one bringing the whiskey as well.
Oh, yeah.
I love it. They wake up like the next morning and Danny's back, you know, his sleeping bag is empty and they never fucking find him.
He's gone feral, like a pig. Gone back to nature. I'd like to see more Fine Gaelers, you know?
Yeah. Fine Gael, then Neil Richmond.
Very good.
Alan Shatter, and I hope he ends up at the bottom of a ravine. That would be nice.
Yeah.
I was listening to Alan Shatter on the Virgin Media Tonight Show, and they brought him on to talk about what else but Eurovision.
That's the end of the free bit. Go to patreon.com/CelticLigers to hear the rest where Alan Shatter is an Alan shitty person and Brian Kennedy yells at him, which is good. Activists arrested at Shannon for damaging a warplane and the media does its best to not cover it. Then finally, millennial grifter Finn McRedmond writes an article that makes no sense, and why can't we get paid for being that stupid too? Fucking hell.